Okay, we are live. I am here with Kaylin Jordan, and hey, Kaylin.
Hey.
Sorry, I just cut you off there, man. But we're going to be talking about we're in a hurry. We're rushed.
Here with Kaylin Jordan,
I'd say I've got all sorts of technical glitches going on. I apologize for it. We were not prepared for the news that Adobe is going to acquire Magento. I also set up this stream in a rush and didn't realize that Adobe is also having a call to talk about this, which I'm trying to dial into. I'm on hold right now. I don't know if y'all are having better luck getting into it, but I'm going to get this call and we will try to react to it.
May I have your conference ID number?
Okay, see, they're asking for a conference ID number. Hold on just one second here. My conference ID number is 944-8279.
While TJ does that, hopefully he gets that set up. We're gonna try to live comment on the conference call.
Jamerson, Jamersan. That's how Adobe does it, people. They actually have humans answer their conference calls. Forget this automation stuff. All right, so we're trying to get that set up. Let us know if you have any questions. I brought out the alcohol here. I feel like I'm going to need it. I'm going to need the heavy stuff today. I should have brought out the cheap stuff because I may be hammering it. I don't know how this is going to go.
I think you have the camera set to just you. I'm not sure.
Do I have the camera set to just? No, I'm seeing you on the live stream. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for waiting. Your line will be on hold until the conference begins.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so we're going to be on hold until the conference begins.
Today, we'll discuss Adobe's announcement of our intent to acquire Magento. We will also provide comments on our capital return strategy and our announcement today of a significant expansion of our stock repurchase authority. We posted copies of these press releases on our investor relations page under quick links for reference. Before we get started, we want to emphasize that some of the information discussed in this call, particularly the timing of closing and the potential benefits of our acquisition of Magento, is based on information as of today, May 21st, 2018, and contains forward-looking statements that involve risk and uncertainty.
In other words, they reserve the right to be wrong about all this.
Set forth in such statements. For discussion of these risks and uncertainties, you should review the forward-looking statements disclosures, today's press releases, as well as Adobe's SEC filings. All participants are advised that the audio of this conference call is being recorded for playback purposes, and an archive of the call will be made available later today for reference. I'll now turn the call over to Shotman.
Thanks, Mike, and good afternoon. Adobe's strategy to empower people to create and transform how businesses compete continues to drive our momentum. Across the globe, individuals and companies recognize that great experiences have become the basis of differentiation in an increasingly competitive and complex world. With the world's best digital media and digital experience, cloud-based solutions,
we have to drink every time they say experience on cloud.
For developing and delivering
I think Phil might want to pop
customer experience.
Hang out.
Commerce is an integral part of an end-to-end customer experience. Consumers and businesses now expect every interaction to be shoppable, whether on the web, mobile.
Aren't you guys glad you tuned into this live stream so you can hear us comment on this? If you were just listening to this, you might want to shoot yourself by about now. I'm not seeing myself on the video, but I might be looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah, you're probably looking at the actual Google Hangout, not the live stream.
Integrated into Adobe Experience Cloud,
cool.
Delivering a single platform that serves both B2B and B2C customers globally. The Magento platform brings together digital commerce, order management, and predictive intelligence.
You guys already know about the Magento platform. I apologize for having you tune in to listen to Adobe tell us about the Magento platform.
Adobe is the only company with leadership in content creation, marketing, advertising, analytics, and now
Sorry, Carl. Sorry, Carl. It's all your fault. I don't know how this is your fault, but somehow this is your fault.
Shout out to, we got some people in the room here. The Guardian, Levantos, Eric Watson, Carl Elder. No, God, please, God, no, no.
Yeah, James, this is breaking news to me. I knew Magento was pushing for acquisition or IPO. I really thought it'd be end of the year before we saw anything. Adobe was definitely one of the companies in play, but yeah, this is a complete total surprise.
Brad will walk you through the strategy, and then John will comment on the financials of the transaction. Brad? Thanks, Shantanu. In this new experience-driven era, organizations
Experience. Take a drink.
You
get experience. Take a drink.
Experience their business.
He said it again. Take a drink.
This is getting ugly.
Set of solutions in the market.
I'm drinking coffee.
Designed to help
But
companies deliver consistent, continuous, and compelling experience to customers across the globe. Across every touch point.
I'm going to be drunk.
At our recent summit event, Adobe revealed its next generation cloud platform. The underlying cross-cloud architecture that unifies
experience or cloud, right? That's the
data
drink.
and offers artificial intelligence through Adobe
I'm gonna have to have a ride home.
as well as capabilities across Adobe Experience Cloud. As we looked at our current portfolio,
They're gonna
of
rename it the
analytics,
Magento Dreamweaver
advertising,
Experience.
and marketing cloud offerings. We saw an opportunity to add a next generation commerce capability
Cloud
to
Weaver?
Adobe Experience Cloud. One that could serve both B2B and B2C customers across physical and
Didn't the last guy
digital
say that exact same sentence?
and provide the flexibility to scale to serve mid-market and large enterprise customers. Magento
I
Commerce
think
Cloud brings
mid-market.
together
I mean, we already have enough
commerce,
keywords, but I think mid-market would have been
and predictive intelligence into
another
a
good one.
unified commerce platform. The Magento platform is flexible, modern, and cloud-based commerce solution. It's enabling shopping experience across the widest range of markets.
Mage Def said he's on the call trying to listen.
Including
Don't do it, man.
consumer
Just watch the stream. We're playing it back for you.
That's what I'm saying. What do you-
manufacturing,
I mean, we're
and
talking
the public
over it.
sector.
It's garbage anyway.
The platform is built on proven
But Nye's in the room.
supported by a vibrant
Adobe Fabric,
of
blah,
more than
blah,
300,000
Fabric.
developers. The Magento partner ecosystem provides thousands.
By the way, guys, we'll get to commentary. We'll get all of your comments. We'll post after we listen to this. You know, we want to hear if there are any nice little nuggets or tidbits in this that might be of interest. It just sounds like a fluff piece at this point, so I doubt there's going to be anything useful there, but we'll talk about it afterwards. I didn't realize that this call was happening same time I scheduled this because we were in a hurry. So we'll get around to that.
From the addition of Magento to Adobe Experience Cloud, including Coca-Cola.
Hey, he said Experience Cloud. That's two.
We have an existing certified integration between Magento Commerce Cloud and Adobe Experience Cloud. That
That's
has
two clouds.
been successful in the market and will serve as a catalyst.
I'm having to sit here. Like, seriously, I don't think I have enough booze for this call.
You're going to have to get deep. You're going to have to go deep, TJ. You're going to have to dig deep. It's serious business.
For those that just joined us, we're drinking every time they say experience or cloud.
TAM to more than $65 billion in 2020. Magento has a strong executive team and technologists that we look forward to integrating into the Adobe family.
They're buying the people.
And now for more details on the
Integrating into the Adobe family. Those are words we don't want to hear. I don't like those. I'm not feeling that.
We're excited about the acquisition of Magento, adding another growth component to our digital experience business. We believe the addition of Magento expands our.
By the way, TJ, we're no longer Magento YouTubers. We're Adobe YouTubers.
The key underserved customers need.
I'm not sure I'll dig that, but we can always quit.
Intend to
I don't
fund
know
the
how you feel
acquisition
about that.
price of $1.68 billion through our current cash position. Magento is private, and while their financials are not regularly disclosed, they achieved revenue of
There's a lot of L's in
$150
that regular.
million in calendar year 2017. Given Magento's
Hey,
revenue
Mage
and
Def
growth
just
rate,
moved over to the live stream and turned off the call. Good choice, brother. Good choice.
transaction is subject to typical government approvals and
Danielle
satisfaction
Smith
of other customary conditions.
can listen to a recording of the call
We expect
later.
to close in Q3, which is the
That is correct.
August quarter. Like many enterprise software companies, Magento's business is driven by bookings, and much of their near-term revenue.
Let's not overreact, Reese. Okay, let's not overreact with the let's all move to Shopify. Let's not get
The
crazy.
majority of the next 12 months of Magento revenue will not be recorded as part of Adobe's results post-closing, as we write down a large portion of their deferred revenue balance. Because of the anticipated lost revenue due to purchase accounting, we expect the transaction to be slightly dilutive to our earnings in FY 2018.
It's okay, Main Staff. We're not enthusiastic either.
Were previously provided.
What did he say? It's going to be dilutive because of reductions in the. If anybody understood that, could you explain what he just said? It sounded like.
Yeah, he said we're disclosing how much this is worth, but it's going to be some stock options or something, because that's what it sounded like to me. Like the actual number may change based on what our company is worth whenever this deal closes. That's how I think.
$2.5 billion in common stock for fiscal year 2019 is expected to be exhausted later this year. The new program is expected to be funded from Adobe's future cash flow from operations and is not expected to have a material impact on the company's fiscal year 2018 earnings. Now I'll turn the call back over to Mike.
Thanks, John. If you wish to listen to a replay of
I think he just said they're going to buy with money they don't have, or something to that effect.
Yep. My Adobe Cloud subscription is about to go up to pay for this.
Number 944-8279. International callers should dial 404.
Adobe ain't afraid to throw out some numbers. And I tell you what, when I dialed in this conference call, a human actually answered and asked which conference I wanted to be on. Like I feel like that could be automated, Adobe. Is that the level of automation we're to expect from here on in?
I think this is the first time I've not gotten an automated call system where I actually probably would have just preferred it. First time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Operator.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, if you have a question, please press the star and the number 1 key on your touch-tone telephone. If your question has been answered or you wish to remove yourself from the queue, please press the pound key. Our first question is from the line of Brent.
I'd like to ask if there is. I want to know if they're interested in AdobeHero.io, because I'm going to be on that.
Let's talk a little bit about the go-to-market going forward, and just give us a little perspective on their business among large.
Now I'm wondering if this is why Magento Cloud just decided to delay till July.
And I'll have Brad as well add.
This is actually a decent question.
I think when we looked at the Magento commerce platform and what they have built with their cloud, the offering actually is unique in that it can target both B2B as well as B2C. And we believe can target both the mid-market as well as larger enterprises. The current focus, Brent, has been more associated with mid-market. And I think they saw in B2B a unique opportunity to be a first mover. And so that's really where they have focused. Clearly, we have a much stronger presence in B2C and larger enterprises. And so, we can add that capability to what they already have. So I would say they focus more on mid-market and B2B at this time.
What? They're going to add B2C capabilities to Magento?
I think he said, we're Adobe, we're big. What's this fiddly little Magento thing you just bought?
From, I would say, that mid-market focus up into the enterprise, and have been successful in doing that. And I think there's an opportunity, given our presence with the enterprise and with the largest, most complex, I would say, experience implementations in the world, we think there's an opportunity to really bring the technology.
Experience. Take a drink.
Okay, just a quick follow-up. There, I believe, was a transition from private to public, moving off of their servers to AWS. Can you just frame how far they are through that transition and how you can actually help accelerate that?
The last few releases of the Magento Commerce platform have been 100% cloud first. And so they have been transitioning to the cloud. They do have some implementations
to the cloud
still on an on-prem and more of a hybrid environment.
I can't keep up.
So we do think that our capabilities as a cloud-first company, just given the scale there, will continue to help harden and grow the cloud platform of Magento.
Thank you.
This is why they don't like cloud being criticized. Cloud is literally everything. It's everything as far as investors are concerned. The cloud.
Thanks so much. I guess the team, just on the $150 million of revenue, is that really all driven from the Magento Commerce enterprise base as opposed to, I think, their open source community? That's the first question. And then second, is the model all ratable at Magento? Just this mix of sort of pure cloud versus maybe some historic on-prem, maybe a comment on that. And then finally, you mentioned it will be slightly dilutive, but that includes the write-down on revenue from purchase accounting. And I just was curious excluding that, would it have been neutral or accretive to earnings? Thanks.
Yeah, Ross, let me first start off. What we wanted to do in the overall press release was just give you a sense of, their scale of revenue in 2017, more to reflect how we continue to be disciplined buyers and to give you a sense of, scale. I think
we just wanted to let you know that they're kind of a big deal.
Their revenue mix would be forthcoming later, so we really didn't want to get into that as much as give you a sense of their business. And again, that was calendar 2017, so I think it's important to remember that, Ross.
Yeah, and in terms of Rattle and as much as accretive,
Damn it, TJ, you got 55 people watching. So pissed.
Well, that was live, right?
I know that was live. Everybody knows how angry I am about your watch statistics. No secret.
We've got to harmonize as well as understanding the impact of accounting regulation changes with ASC 606.
Speak up,
the
people.
last thing, Ross, I would add is, again, I think big picture, we're excited about the expansion of commerce into the overall Adobe Experience Cloud. I think, we've had a tremendous history of showing how we can leverage Adobe's go-to-market footprint, but also, add to what their capabilities are from a technology. And again,
hell's a go-to-market footprint?
Further updates on their business, we'll give you more color as to how we're thinking about our capabilities.
Understood. Thanks so much, and congratulations.
Thanks, Ross.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Brad Zelnick of Credit Suisse. Your line is open.
Thanks very much, and congratulations as well. Maybe for Brad,
we should start taking questions and pushing buttons here.
Platform to think about the deal, and how do you think about the opportunity to convert competing customers now onto the Magento platform?
Yeah, as we've talked about up front, and as we think about the Experience Cloud, it really is being built as the most comprehensive and integrated.
It's okay, Vinay. I don't know what they're talking about either, but it's riveting stuff.
Capabilities that will provide all the way from the moment you see your first ad, all
Don't
the way
understand
to
a single
you're
sentence.
transacting and purchasing a product.
I appreciate you saying that, Vinay, so that people that are not as smart as you feel okay not understanding what you're talking about either, right? It's about that open and inclusive, and they're not going to touch on Magento Community Edition. It's not important for earnings. It's not important for the people who own Adobe stock or whatever. I assume Adobe's a publicly traded company, right? So it's not important. Now, whether they keep it or whether they treat it as important is a different thing, but it's not going to be addressed in this call live stream.
Having over 300,000 people who are adding extensions, helping integrate it, that also really adds to the go-to-market capabilities for Adobe in this particular case.
Makes sense. Thanks, Shantanu. Thank you, Brad. Congrats again.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Kash Rajan of Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Your line is open.
Hi, this is Shankar on for Kash. Quick question on the integration that needs to be done. You mentioned in the past you have some integration built in between Magento and Adobe. Could you talk about what you need to do to make it seamless? Are you going to completely re-platform, or is it going to be just a big integration because you already have a lot of partners working on it?
As I stated earlier, we do have an existing certified integration between Magento Commerce Cloud and Adobe Experience Cloud. And that's being used.
Yeah, we'll talk about Magento Community Edition and our thoughts around that kind of after this conference call. So I know a lot of people are concerned about that. That's the backbone and by which Magento is built on. We'll definitely touch on that after this call.
The ingredients of making a great experience, whether that's a commerce experience or a broader digital experience, is content and data with intelligence. And where we'll be working on the integrations to continue to enhance and extend are going to be around those areas: the content to personalize, the data to understand, and then bringing Adobe Sensei with the intelligence to make more informed decisions in real time.
Real time data intelligence. That was a solid answer. That was a solid answer. You said, how are you going to convert competing customers?
I think the acquisition makes a lot of sense. We've seen the convergence between marketing and commerce happening in the marketplace for a couple of years now. And I'm just curious, you know, why now? Because
finally somebody with a
something
decent
we've
quality
probably
phone
all been
line.
asking you about for a couple of years now. So what gave you the sense that now is the right time to move and make that critical acquisition in the e-commerce space?
Yeah, I'll take that. This is Brad. I think it really comes down to this experienced business wave that every organization in the world is dealing with. As experience and the expectations that consumers have of you as a brand, as those continue to escalate, and not just escalate from, hey, this is what the website looks like, but all the way through the entire purchase funnel and the use of a product, what that experience looks like. Every brand in the world is chasing those escalating demands. And at the same time, you have more brands who want to have a direct relationship with their customers. And so the why now really is, we believe and have an assertion that this is
been
going
in
to
works for like 2 years, I bet.
Building a modern and flexible commerce platform is going to be critical, because the rigidity of the architectures of the past are starting to hold companies' brands back. And we think there's an opportunity of bringing commerce into the Experience Cloud to really extend and expand those relationships the brands want to have with their customers. Ben
Roby just said he wonders what Jamie Foxx thinks about this. Jamie don't care, because Jamie just moved his sunglass company to Shopify, actually. It's no longer on Magento.
What was that? You're breaking up, TJ. I can't hear you.
Am I breaking up?
I'm just kidding. I didn't want you to say that. Embarrassing. Embarrassing to the cause.
One of your opportunities or priorities was to leverage partners and developers and data scientists to mitigate the kind of services or consulting capacity that you might otherwise need internally. So it's interesting to hear you reference the several 100,000 developers that Magento has. So could you put this in a larger context, and perhaps do you see that these developers that you're now getting access to
Hey, now they're talking about us.
Have a broader impact or opportunity for you, given what you were speaking of at Summit? So, in other words, beyond just the e-commerce play here that you talked about today with the acquisition. And then secondly, is there an internal usage opportunity here? In other words, could you take this technology and help it, or use it rather, to help drive Adobe.com and have more of an internal business impact?
They're not going to use Magento for Adobe.com.
Hey, I mean, I think when we think about what's happening in the broader experience business that Brad keeps referring to, there's no question that having more and more developers be comfortable with the platform and having an architecture that allows them to both customize and augment capabilities is a huge plus. As you're aware, Day Software also was built with this kind of an open architecture in mind in terms of targeting developers. And so I think for us, big picture, having more and more IT professionals who feel comfortable being part of a platform is certainly a plus. And so I think to that point, we have been both with Sensei as well as with Adobe I/O, making sure that we allow developers within enterprises, because commerce is an inherently complicated product to implement. I think what Magento has done very uniquely is how do you put that power in the hands of developers. So big picture, I think, to your point, the customization is certainly, we think, a unique capability associated with Magento. I think to your second point, we always have the advantage, frankly, when we talk to customers, that we tell them, hey, we have a B2B business ourselves in terms of the experience business, and we have a B2C in terms of what we do with Creative Cloud. And being able to use all of the technology that we're selling to other customers internally in our own environment is a huge plus. So certainly expect us to look at how we will be using Magento even in the internal on-ramp as it relates to Creative and Document Cloud.
Thank you.
By the way, we have got MCP in the house, Philip Jackson, Magento Imagine MC.
Phil, you're muted.
What's going on, guys?
Thanks for taking my
Hey, what's up? I wasn't looking at the screen, so I didn't see you pop in, dude.
Yeah.
We're going to be addressing everyone's concerns, getting opinions. We're going to try to finish most of this call. I know it's putting people to sleep, and I'm getting drunk because we drink every time they mention what was it, cloud or experience. So if you're playing along at home, pay attention. Don't overdo it.
All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go grab a cold brew coffee, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, buddy. All right.
BRB.
Currently, it's a little bit over 700. Got it. Thanks very much.
And second, part of it to remember is, they were spun out of, what was eBay/PayPal at that point. And so, I think going back historical, it's not easy to do what the organic growth was. We're excited about their revenue growth rate moving forward, certainly.
Fair point. Thanks, Shantanu.
By the way, I mean, we've got 83 people watching at this point. Hit that subscribe button. Help me out. Come on.
Hey,
while you're here, you might as well. Go ahead and subscribe to Commerce Hero while you're at it as well.
That's what I was going to say.
Brad, wondering if you could put this into context of the kind of broader front-end applications market, and you've sort of taken progressive steps to get into more and more of the market. If we look at areas like customer service and even CRM, how do you think about, I know you have a partnership with Microsoft, how do you think about the longer term path there and synergies that those areas might have with e-commerce and the plan related to that?
I'm not drinking on synergies.
Yeah, so Walter, it's Brad. So I think that if our strategy really comes back to being, how do you provide a consistent, continuous, and compelling experience? And so in order to do that, you have to be prepared to execute on each of those different channels, whether that's customer service, whether that's on the website, whether I walk into the store. Brands have to be ready to provide that experience at a moment's notice in whatever touch point.
The question was about front end.
So as a result, we have to be prepared to send our content and data and the intelligence to the edge to each of those touch points. And so for us, certainly getting into the commerce market in such a significant way as we're doing today is a big move in being able to do that in the commerce-related touch points. But we also recognize that there's opportunities to work with our partners. You mentioned Microsoft. Certainly with CRM and service and support with what they do there, that is a big part of our strategy. And you'll see us continue to partner with other players in the ecosystem where it makes sense.
I think, big picture, Walter, again, we have such a large opportunity that we've created for Adobe.
Don't answer the questions that are asked. Answer the questions you wish were asked, Kaylin.
We think commerce is a fantastic addition to what we already have as the market-leading product and digital experience. And to everybody, we really appreciate your joining us at such short notice. From my point of view, I think this adds significantly to the addressable market opportunity that we have. It clearly further differentiates our offering. We're the only company that can do everything from creation to monetization. We're excited about welcoming the Magento employees to the Adobe family, and we'll certainly provide an update in the future. But thank you again for joining us today.
I feel like Phil has to say something. Phil, you got to give an inaugural statement or something.
It's over. So,
Thank you for your participation in today's conference.
All right, hang that call.
It's over. Hey.
Everyone have a great day.
all right. So, go ahead, Phil. The floor is yours, Mr. Magento Master MC of Imagine. Have at it.
Okay, so on a couple levels, just make sure you can hear me, right?
Can hear you just fine.
All right, so on a couple levels, the first thing that I'd like to say is that, outside, I cannot speak on sort of behalf of, I'm just the pundit. I'm a Magento pundit in that I love the stuff just like you guys do. And I knew nothing about this.
Info. That's what
I knew nothing about nothing. I think the very first thing I could possibly say is that this has to be a really big day for a lot of people who have worked really freaking hard for 3-4 years. From the moment that they came out and said that with the We Are Magento message, I think we've known for some time that Magento has to be able to stand on its own and forge its own identity. And for Magento to enter into this conversation where there's an acquisition, I cannot believe, given the Imagine that we just came out of, given the track of the last 3 years standing as its own company, I cannot believe that Magento would partner with a company who's looking to dilute the brand and get rid of the community that they've worked so hard to build and maintain. So I have all confidence in Magento in that respect, that is what actually is the value here, right? That's the value prop of Magento. It's the strength of not just the brand, but the strength of the community that they built. So my sense is that a lot of people have worked hard to maintain that, and this is a conversation that's been a long time coming. And if I'm Permira and I'm Hill House and I've got a lot of money in this company who's been scaling this business for 3 years, and I'm hitting all the check boxes, business intelligence, cloud, I'm getting, big brands, big CPG brands, those are the things that you need to do in order to turn a profit on your original investment. I think the question that a couple people have asked me already in the last hour since this came out is that the original eBay Enterprise sale was finalized at somewhere in the neighborhood of 925 million, but nobody knew exactly how that was split up because part of the eBay Enterprise became Radial, and part of it became went back to the marketing product whose name escapes me at the moment. I forget. So it got split up into 3 units when eBay Enterprise was turned out for 925 million, and Permira got a part of that. So let's say it was split up equally. I don't know, but the scale of that acquisition from to, let's say, 300 million, 400 million, who knows what the actual number was, because it was undisclosed. To scale that to 1.68 billion is insane. It's incredible, and the fact that this is the second time that Mark Lavelle has done this is incredible. And so hats off to everybody who's worked super, super hard to make this happen. This was the only, this one eventuality for Magento. I was kind of hoping they were on the path to going public, but I think this makes them a much stronger competitor. They were already the market leader in a lot of areas, and I think Adobe is really the only one who can compete with Salesforce, the only one who can compete with Oracle. And so you want to play in those backyards, then you gotta team with the companies that can make it happen. Now, this is not their first partnership. So Adobe Experience Manager, they've already had a partnership on the books for well over a year with Adobe in this regard. So I have a million thoughts, but I just wanted to say, congratulations to so many people who I know that this is a big event for them, who have stock in the company, who have been working hard for the company and pushing through some tough stuff. So I don't know what else to say because I have nothing. Man,
we've been having such a good time just trolling, talking crap. Brought it to this whole positive angle on it.
It's good. I'm happy because I think that a lot of people they've been hanging in there and putting in the hard work, and this is going to be a big deal for them. It's going to change a bunch of people's lives, And Kaylin, you're an entrepreneur. Think about what a liquidation event for someone who's been working hard. Think about the runway. Think about the products and the services that could be built from the people, the talent at Magento who could go turn that out into runway to go launch their own products. Our ecosystem has just blown up exponentially in one day. It's incredible.
Liquidation events are always nice for the entrepreneurs and the people that have a payout, and obviously huge congrats on that. They tend to more times than not be suboptimal for everyone else. And so, it's funny because I was just starting to turn the corner and be very, bullish on where we're at now with Lavelle and the team now. And now we're moving to this whole, we're moving to this whole other corporate parent.
That doesn't change.
So, Kaylin was bullish, but not optimistic. Just to be clear, bullish, but not optimistic.
How can you not be that's I don't get
it. Well, here's the concern. Here's the concern with someone like Adobe acquiring Magento is that, and I tweeted this, the thing is it could be very positive. And they have the resources now. Magento has the resources. All of the things they've been doing can now be amplified because there's more people, there's more money. But on the flip side of that, what does Adobe expect out of this acquisition? And if they don't get that, they are a big enough company with enough revenue to just say, forget it.
No.
Just throw the whole thing away. No, that's bad business. They wouldn't do it. But they could literally, and people are worried that they have the resources. They could cut off community if they wanted to. That'd be a mistake. We all know it'd be a mistake. I don't think it's going to happen. Don't worry. I'm not predicting that. But they could literally, they're big enough to do anything they want to do.
If you go right now on Adobe's Marketing Cloud and you go to Adobe Experience Manager and you look at what they're touting as experience-driven commerce, it's a bunch of garbage. Like their actual e-commerce platform, their solution right now is not even in the, it's like they can't compete. So in the same way that Magento had to go and acquire BI and had to acquire, Page Builder and had to acquire a bunch of, tech and partner for cloud, they had to hit a bunch of checkboxes. I think Adobe has to do the same. Adobe is failing in that area right now. And that's what we heard on this conference call, is that Magento will be the thing that makes them competitive in commerce. So this is too important for Adobe. I mean, to Bob Schwartz's point, he was tweeting, he's like, 1.68 billion is pocket change to a company that has, $117 billion market cap. But I don't think it's disposable, especially when you have to answer to stockholders or to shareholders that you can't just go throwing almost $2 billion around on an acquisition of a property and then do literally nothing with it. I mean, unless you're Microsoft and you're buying Skype, I don't see how, I don't see how they get away with that. Like they have to, there's too much on the line.
I thought you were going to use the word Bob Schwartz as a verb. I thought you were going to say, this is too important to Bob Schwartz it.
Yeah, you can't Bob Schwartz this.
By the way, if we could somehow loop Bob into this hangout, it would instantly become
Bob
the best.
Bob will not comment. I'm telling you, there's no way Bob comments on this.
By the way, I've got to get a quick sponsor plug in. This live stream is brought to you by Mage Mojo and Commerce Hero. I said on the last live stream that I am for sale, and Marcia with Mage Mojo sent me $10 whole and some stickers to put on the back of the laptop. And guess what? There are now stickers on the back of the laptop. So before we, keep talking about the interesting stuff, I just wanted to get a plug for the $10 sponsor on the back of the laptop.
Can I tell you the reason why I'm annoyed by this?
Yes, you can. Please.
The only reason why I'm annoyed by this is that every conversation that I have with every client for the next 6 months is going to be, well, didn't they just get bought by Adobe? What's going to happen?
Well, that is interesting. I mean, we're a small agency. We've got a ton, for us, a lot of deals in the pipeline right now. Some very, very close to closing. At least I hope they're close to closing. And now what does that do? Like, how does this affect those merchants that are leaning toward Magento but are considering other platforms?
I've heard some. So Adobe says on the conference call that there's two sides of the organization. There's the consumer side of the business, which they see as like the Adobe Creative Cloud, and then there's the business side of the which is the Adobe Experience Cloud or the Marketing Cloud. And this obviously is on the business side. So I know some folks at Magento who have come from Adobe, and I've heard some not great things about the sales culture at Adobe. And I cannot see a world in which Magento has to stand on its own for it to maintain its culture and for it to be true to who it is. And so I expect, I would hope and be optimistic that the kinds of things that I've heard that's sort of like the Adobe enterprise side of the business are not things that mesh with the culture of Magento as a company. And so my hope is that they remain more separate than integrated.
And right, and it's hard for me as far like even just as simple as are they going to roll it into Adobe? Are they going to rename it Adobe Commerce like how Salesforce renamed Demandware?
Nobody calls it Salesforce Commerce. They call it Demandware still. So brand might be strong. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean it's hard to imagine either way. It's hard to imagine being renamed Adobe, and it's also hard to imagine it not happening because, I mean, has Adobe acquired anything else that they haven't kind of renamed, rebranded under
Omniture, which they rebranded. And it's really the only one that comes to mind. I'm sure there's others.
I'd really ask if you're going to change your license plates there, Phil.
That's funny. Hey, TJ, I don't know. I don't know if you can check it or not. It sounds like maybe you're, I don't know if it's your mic. I don't think you're using the mic that's sitting in front of you.
Really? That is terrible.
Sound a little far away, my friend.
Tap on it.
How's this?
Hey, now TJ knows what it's like to be me.
Yep. You're using the wrong mic, buddy.
Says I'm using. Okay. Yep. Wrong mic. Sorry.
Ooh, sounds so much better now.
Supple. You sound supple.
Dang it. I'm sorry. It was a quick setup. It was a very quick. We literally had like 10 minutes to get on air. I apologize. So y'all were listening to the whole conference call on a mic that's way the hell over there.
It was
I apologize.
It was way over there. You're good. I love you. This, you know what's frustrating, Kaylin, is that we called this, but that show's not live, so it doesn't matter. So who cares?
Well, this is a while, but this is, I remember, I just did some Googling, and June 2016, there's an article on ZDNet where they, I guess it was when Demandware was acquired, where they started to float the idea. And I remember seeing an article a year and a half ago, something like that. And so, yeah, I mean, I've heard from a few people close. I've heard from sources close to Magento that they were like going back, I don't know, a year or two. Like they're like, yeah, we're going to sell. It's going to sell in a couple of years. So this has definitely been in the works. And yeah, so
can we? I do want to rep a little bit. So to all the people who are, you know, poo-pooing Adobe, sort of being just, you know, a commercial company. Over on the Adobe blog, they just posted a blog that was that went live at the same time as the conference call, and they basically said, I quote, "Long before open source was broadly embraced in enterprise computing, Adobe actively integrated open source technologies in its software and actively contributed to open source development. From our involvement with the Apache Software Foundation to the recently launched Adobe Cloud Platform, Adobe has fostered a passion for open and collaborative development." Then they go on to list, and you have to understand, like, the fact that they're giving a laundry list of all of the ways that they've contributed to open source is very meaningful here. So an entire 2 paragraphs about open source at Adobe here, and I'll just read it. "Active engagement with open source communities and standards has been an increasingly vital tenet of our engineering culture as we become a platform company. Adobe actively supports open standards like," and this is important, WCAG 2.0, which is the accessibility standard that's sort of widely recognized as the de facto in the world, not just in the United States, but the world over. Standards bodies like the W3C, and they rely on the industry's best open source software like MongoDB, which is a public company now too, Apache Kafka, CentOS, and our employees contribute to a broad array of open source projects, including Apache Spark, Brackets, and many more. And then they also tout that they contribute on GitHub to a lot of open source projects, and they're saying open source is in their DNA, and they want to do much, much more with Magento. So if anybody is sitting here poo-pooing, you know, Adobe's commitment to open source, Magento's entire value prop, as far as the Adobe blog is concerned, is its commitment to open source. So that gives me a lot of hope, right? Like that should give us all a lot of hope.
I mean, and I have to say, I've been impressed by Magento. So I did a interview with David Manners today on the community engineering side. Did one with Vinay, where Vinay said, you know, if not for Magento's community engineering, he probably would have moved on from the Magento community. So I've been pretty impressed with it, and I think that like Lavelle, I could see that he's been driving that. And so at the same time, I see them obviously driving cloud. I can see why cloud is really important to their valuation as a company. I'm not as excited about cloud for its sake. I'm super excited about community engineering, but just the fact that like Lavelle and everybody have pushed community engineering as far as they have, it seems clear that they do see that as a really, you know, even though at the end of the day, they sold it relatively quickly. I mean, most of us didn't see this happening so quickly. Even though there was a quick turnaround on the sale, they obviously believe in community and community engineering, or else you know, why would they have messed around with it? I mean, the community engineering is only like what, a year old ish. So the acquisition was discussions were probably already underway at that time.
Yeah.
So the fact that they've pushed that so hard and invest, I mean, I talked to David today. I think they're up to like 10 full-time people, and they've been investing pretty heavily in that. So, I mean, yeah, it seems like it is a key part to what Magento is and what's been acquired. So that gives me some hope. But like Vinay, for example, you know, when he saw this news, it's making him nervous, right? Like, you know, what's this going to mean? And you know, he's a kind of a cornerstone of the community, so it kind of speaks to how the community as a whole is kind of reacting to it.
Sorry, TJ, your show.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
No, this is great. I mean, we were just getting some pushback in the chat around that's just marketing speak. That the whole, you know, we contribute to open source is just marketing speak. But I mean, from my perspective, that's all we have right now. All we have is marketing speak to kind of show what Adobe's intentions are with the Magento acquisition. So yes, it's definitely a wait and see what they actually do with the platform, and anything is possible at this point. But you know, how they spin it, how they put the marketing speak out there definitely speaks volumes as to what their intention is.
Okay, I wish I wouldn't have let you speak now, because now I'm angry. I'm not in the live chat. I need to look at the live chat.
Yeah, everybody's saying there's a lot of marketing speak. I'm not sure which.
I cannot abide that kind of cynicism, and I'm a cynic. You guys give me a freaking
I agree.
break.
I concur.
You guys give me a freaking break. This is a public company, and their blog is touting open source. What are they trying to pet our egos? Who cares about us? Like, seriously, what does Adobe owe to any open source developer? Nothing. Why would they position it that way? That is garbage. You guys got to get off this. I'm
Phil gets so worked up.
That's such a stupid, cynical take. Get off that for a minute and look at what a public company who's paying $1 billion for a product put in their blog post. Is 75% of the content in their blog post. Like, they could put anything there. They could put that Magento owns the B2B 300. They could put that Magento owns the Internet Retailer 1000. That's below the open source value in Adobe's own blog. And it's marketing speak. Give me a break. That's just stupid. And I won't abide it.
Have we... Still want to find it. Would actually have we pulled up this blog? It'd be interesting to kind of dig through this blog post.
While you're doing that, can I say the thing that was before I got angry?
Oh yes. Yeah, get in there. Stay angry though. Stay angry. This is good television.
Keep that fire.
So Brian Lang is in Italy right now, and he can only react via text message, which is the freaking best thing ever. So Brian and I had actually speculated about this on Future Commerce, which I think that episode just landed earlier today. He says, game freaking on. He says Magento did well. I don't know if this was public or if Brian's speaking out of turn. He certainly sent it to me in a text message, so I really doubt that he meant for this to be public, but we're going to say it anyway. He thinks that Magento got 10x revenue on this deal, and he thinks that that's insane. And basically, you know, he thinks if anyone has any questions about, you know, Magento having squirrely cloud infrastructure, no one has any questions about Adobe being able to deliver cloud. And so if anyone has anything to say about cloud, they should look at Adobe as the ability to right the ship. And then he also says that
interesting take.
The user and dev base are every bit worth the price, and why would you squander that? Essentially, like, the thing you're buying with Magento is not PHP software. You're buying access to the community. So no longer do we have to worry about, you know, half-assed migration and integration crap. There's a lot of opportunity to cross-sell, and you're getting access to a whole community of Adobe Experience Cloud, you know, Marketing Cloud developers who are going to look at Magento very seriously and help grow the ecosystem. I think that's huge, right? So,
yeah, I think that's a great take. Is that Amazon's official take? Can we take that as
Brian is not allowed to speak on behalf of Amazon. He's
well, I think people are just jaded. They're a little concerned based on the eBay days. If the eBay acquisition never happened and this were the first one, I feel like everyone's concern would be a little softer. And you have to understand as well that, well, it just got announced, so it's just a shock. Everybody's shocked. I think there's always, anytime something like this is announced, there's always a bit of an overreaction at first and then a wait and see approach. So it's okay. Keep posting your negative comments in the chat, please. I'll take all the interactions.
I don't care. I'm trying to figure out, here's if you want something salacious to tweet. How come if Oro Commerce is such a better B2B platform, why didn't Adobe go acquire Oro? What's that all about, right? They're an open source company, aren't they? What's that all about?
Shots fired. No, I mean, I think I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea.
I need more coffee.
I'm not the nominated Oro representative. I don't know why. Why is everybody looking at me? I'm not.
You're an Oro guy now.
I'm not an Oro guy. I'm not an Oro guy. I'm a Yoav. I'm Team Yoav.
I see the stream you got coming up.
But I was gonna say is like the bit on the blog post, like where they talk about open source, like I don't know that necessarily like demonstrates that they're 100% real about the open. Like that's kind of like that's the pitch for Magento. It is open, like Demand Mirror is not open source. That's what Magento is. It's open source. Anytime you talk about it, the way you're going to sell it is you're going to say it's this great platform, open source, community, That doesn't necessarily mean that they really get it. Like for me, literally, like it wasn't until a week ago that I was like, dude, Mark Lavelle really gets it. And I was skeptical for however long he's been there, 5 years or whatever. It wasn't until the other week that I was like, dude, I think he really gets it. So, like who knows if they get it? Like who has any idea whatsoever?
I'm saying the point that I'm making is that you're a big public company. You're putting together a blog to announce this property that you just acquired. And how do you structure how do you structure it? Do you say Magento owns e-commerce already and we're buying into that? Or do you say we're committed to open source and we're committed to making Magento successful at open source? Like from a shareholder perspective, what do shareholders care about open source, right? Like this is not a small company. Have you tried? I went and tried. I just went and tried. I'll show you my Robinhood. I don't have enough money in my stock account to buy 500 shares of Adobe right now. It's too expensive. Like the market cap of Adobe, like they have an incredible, their shareholders wouldn't abide a poor investment of this magnitude. And I don't see, like, you're writing a blog post that your shareholders are going to look at. What do they care about open source? It's not stroking ego. It's not like trying to put Magento's community at ease. This is the value they see, is the commitment to open source. That's it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting though that like everybody's immediate reaction is somewhat negative, and or maybe we surround ourselves with negative people or whatever. 100 people on the stream here, we're all negative. But even you guys said that you're worried about clients in the pipeline, how you're going to explain this to them. So
don't put words in my mouth. I said I'm annoyed that I have to explain it to a bunch of clients. I didn't say I was worried about anything.
Annoyed. Okay. But so the fact like our immediate reaction isn't positive, like necessarily. It's like your immediate reaction is somewhat negative, and then like you brought the positive spin to it, which kind of threw me off. And I don't know why that is exactly. I mean,
it's only positive. I'm so happy. This is the happy thing.
That's not what you DM'd me before the call started.
We've got a question in the chat here. The Guardian is asking, and I think you've talked about some of the pros, but overall, what do you think going into this day one, Phil? What are the pros and cons?
I mean, the cons, it's only conjecture, right? Like the cons is Magento's brand gets, stripped, gets folded into the Borg collective, and it becomes Adobe Commerce, and the value of Magento and what we know as Magento is gone. That is an eventuality to be worried about, but I don't see Adobe paying that much money for an e-commerce acquisition. By the way, what was the acquisition? I didn't look this up because I'm stupid. Salesforce acquires.
I'm going to go on record while you're doing that. I'm going to go on record and predict it will be rebranded Adobe Commerce. That has a decent ring to it. I'm going to hate it with every fiber of my being, but it does have an Adobe Commerce Cloud. It has a bit of a ring to it.
All right,
No,
I'll take the opposing position there. I doubt that that's going to happen. Salesforce bought Demandware for 2.8 billion. So that's interesting. I see this as a way of Adobe basically, trying to stay in lockstep with Salesforce, taking larger and larger shares of, of an e-commerce nature. Also, Salesforce has been on an acquisition spree recently. So I think Adobe is going to have to keep up. They're going to have to invest in a major way. They already own a bunch of marketing enablement, enterprise marketing enablement tools. And I think having those at our disposal in the Magento community, think about what we could get in a Magento marketplace if you could plug and play things like Adobe's Experience Manager. Remember what Adobe acquired a product customizer company and personalization engine not too long ago. I forget the name of it, but there's a good example. I think they changed the name, but anyway, at any rate, it's interesting because those are things that we used to integrate into our customer experiences that are only available now if you get the larger Marketing Cloud. And I think having existing Magento clients being able to tap into those type of enterprise tools with one click in the marketplace might be a really interesting future for us. But yeah, there's the positive and negative. That's my polar examples.
Well, as an SI, as a partner, I'm curious as to see how the partner ecosystem is going to change. Like Adobe has all these products. They have Experience Manager. I'm assuming there's partners over there doing enterprise builds on that. Are they going to flood over and start offering Magento services? What is that going to look like? Are they going to continue, like Magento just introduced I don't even really know what it's called, but basically like a community outreach program for smaller partners that is below business level. Will they continue to try to support that? There's just, a lot of unknowns in how the relationships between Magento and all of these other things are going to continue. I hope they continue the same and that they keep them differentiated, but that's a self-serving hope at this point.
Don't you see this as a... Go ahead, Kalen.
One thing I'm curious about, if the Salesforce Demandware acquisition is a rough approximation in terms of, it seems like it all started when that happened, perhaps a reaction to it. If that's a rough approximation, I don't know that much about what went down with that acquisition, how Demandware changed when it was brought in, what the go-to market footprint, basically what did Salesforce change in order to try to milk it more and try to make more money out of it. If anybody knows anything about that, how if we could apply some analogies to how they did things, what would be the things that Adobe would be wanting to do to leverage the investment as much as they can?
The first thing that they did was they changed the name. No, but they also they started an AI and machine learning initiative for product recommendation and a bunch of other things that they called Einstein, and they started rolling that into the commerce product as well. I think they also touted a lot more integration with the larger CRM focus, and they've also just bought in the last 3 or 4, I don't know, a couple months maybe, they bought MuleSoft, which is an ETL or an iPaaS, which is a middleware company that connects a bunch of these products in the ecosystem. In fact, a lot of enterprise Magento builds that we're looking at SD these days, a lot of them are coming with Dell Boomi, MuleSoft, or SnapLogic, or some other integration to kind of couple everything together, which I just find really interesting. I would like to ask the other question and pose this to you guys. Can you see Amazon being a better steward of Magento as a suitor?
I have to say, you got me a little excited about the IPO idea. The first time that I thought about that was because I just assumed they'd be sold to somebody. Right. And the first time you mentioned that, I was like, oh, that's kind of dope. That'd be awesome. Like you had said, like, hey, Lavelle has had these huge acquisitions. He's never taken a company public. That would be that'd be kind of huge. So I was getting really excited about that possibility. But yeah, I mean, there's no company of this size that could afford them that wouldn't be, a big corporate entity who we wouldn't be excited about them acquiring. Is, you know, it's just nature.
Yeah, I definitely thought that the IPO was the route that they would take. I was a little surprised that Adobe acquired them. I shouldn't have been. I mean, I knew that was one of the companies that was at least potentially in play. I think Mark actually spoke at the Adobe conference a couple of weeks before Imagine, and I knew that was a possibility, but I really thought going public is the route they would take.
Well, Brian Lang was telling me that he ran into Mark having some interesting meetings with some Adobe execs back at shop.org in October last year, which was in LA, actually, which is kind of interesting. Mark actually just sent Mark Lavelle, which I find really funny because they accidentally misspelled his name in his own email. Mark Lavelle just sent an email out to partners announcing the acquisition, which it's from Marky Lavelle. Mark with an E.
Either it's rolling out slowly or he sent it to important partners. I'm checking my email and I don't see it.
You just need a better channel manager, my friend. That's all you need.
Dude, I got Matt Bolin. I'll take Matt Bolin against anybody any day.
Bolin is a baller. From what I hear, he's hardcore, that guy. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. You know what, Kaylin? So you were excited about the IPO idea, but I don't you think that they had to keep their options open, right? Like, don't you think that as a company like that, they have to sort of play to all the angles, right? I think IPO was always on the table.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, gotta keep the options open. I mean, I just would have thought it would have been cooler if they did the IPO. By the way, John Swords had an interesting comment. He said, expect rebrand within 3 to 6 months, gutting of sales and marketing teams in 9 months, maybe one more Imagine conference, and then it merges with Adobe events.
I could see that.
Strong prediction there. And I guess it can be standard for acquisitions like that to streamline sales and marketing. We've got some predictions.
Yeah. Magento Association was a thing that's been brewing, right?
And that's true. And again, like all the things that are announced at Imagine, the Magento Association, all these community-centric things, these things were all practically started when for sure these acquisition discussions had already begun.
The deal was still wet when they're talking about this stuff.
Right?
The optimist is going to say, well, look, all of these initiatives were in play when obviously this acquisition was in discussion. The pessimist is going to say the band was still playing when the Titanic sank.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
We should stream with TJ more often. That's
I mean,
funny.
You could, yeah. I mean, you could, but in that analogy, the band's playing because the band. I'm trying to I can't make the connection with that analogy.
It's just funny. Is all that? There's nothing. I don't know that.
The analogy there is that the people playing the band had no choice but to do that. But Magento leadership had a choice whether to invest in these things and lower their profitability, right? Invest in community engineering in terms of strictly on paper lowers your profitability. Then again, if they're acquired on a multiple of revenue, profit always matters. But if they're acquired on revenue, it wasn't as important. But again, investing in all these things, lowering their profitability just as an acquisition is happening, seems like something you wouldn't do if it didn't really matter,
But I'm with you. I definitely think it's beneficial. I think it's a sign that, Magento, now Adobe, is going to continue that investment in community. I don't take it as pessimistic. I'm usually an optimist in most cases, depending on how much doers I have consumed. But the thing is just because they were doing it, you still act business as usual until the acquisition goes through, because until it's announced, until the ink is dry, it may or may not happen. So anytime you're selling a business, you keep going as if the business wasn't going to be acquired. You don't stop because you think somebody may buy you. Is what the pessimists are going to say.
Well, no, but business as usual would have been not doing the Magento Association, would have been not investing more money in community engineering. Business as usual would have been keep everything the way it is. Let's not continue to invest in things that don't affect our bottom line. That would have been business as usual, right? And so that's my only.
Definitely if you're maximizing revenue. Go ahead.
Can I show you guys something? This was
Sure.
This is from Gil Greenberg at Something Digital. He's one of our front end leads. He put together a mock-up of what Magento 2.4 might look like. I don't know if anyone can see this, but this is the Luma theme. Kaylin, I need you to laugh at this. I don't think you're.
It's a Flash ActiveX object error.
This is
Kaylin has to not laugh so everyone else can see it.
This is one of the funnier things I've ever seen.
TJ, you can click on his window, so it just shows it.
I turned it off. Oh, anyway, you want me to show it again?
It's fantastic.
we could put that back
really
up just one more time.
I thought he was about to announce another owner of Something Digital there for a second.
What I love about this particular take, this hot take, is that this is still a world in which Luma doesn't use Page Builder. Like this, in this take, we're still stuck in this weird hell of having to hand code, artisanally hand code poor responsive site experiences on the homepage of Magento.
No, that ActiveX object is definitely an Adobe Experience Manager plugin there. I can tell.
That's too good.
That's funny.
So hey, keep posting your questions in the chat, please. We still got a ton of people watching. Give us your comments. Give us your thoughts. Hit thumbs up on the video, please. If you're not subscribed, then subscribe now. Do it. So
you know what's funny is TJ, we're helping you build your channel, man. This is good.
Well, Kaylin's a little. Let's just say Kaylin's a little perturbed because we hit 100 concurrent subscribers. He's been trying to get close to the Mage Mojo live stream, which he gave all credit to Eric promoting that live stream, which is cool. It's fair. It's fair.
100% of the credit. I'm not a
fair
little
criticism.
Not a little perturbed. I'm angry. I'm downright angry. And
so how are you gonna just write this one off, Kaylin? How are you just gonna we had 100 concurrent at one point.
It's me and Phil. No. Honestly, though, all props to TJ. Really great idea to do this live stream at this time. And I'm just angry about the numbers he's putting on the board.
I know, but in my defense, I've seen the Mage Talk live stream, and I haven't seen 100 people watching. And I'm pretty sure both of y'all are on that. So I mean, I love the Mage Talk live stream. If you're not subscribed to the Mage Talk channel, they've got some YouTube things going on. Jump on over there. Seriously, subscribe to the Mage Talk channel. I really do enjoy the live streams you guys are doing. I've been gone for a couple of weeks, so I've missed the last two, and I know you haven't been doing them for long, but they're as good or better than the actual podcast. So get your ass over there and subscribe to the Mage Talk YouTube channel.
Have a post from Vinay. He said that Anton Krill says need to improve some of our PDF generation APIs.
That's great.
Well, I mean, I don't know much about Adobe's ecosystem other than the design tools and things that they do. So that's an interesting point as well. Is in that a lot of maybe partners that provide services outside of what Magento does. Are there Adobe services that may now be kind of packaged into the core that, I mean, I'm just throwing out random examples. I know this is a bad example, but you've got people like .mailer or Shipper HQ or services like that. Is there some Adobe service that they provide that may kind of put some partners at disadvantage? Anyone know? I don't know.
That would be a question for Phil. Any question related to partnership? I'm gonna defer to my colleague from Florida.
Here's my take on that. For the larger, okay. So we have to unpack. This is going to be a little inside baseball. Sorry for everybody. There are larger consulting firms that should scare the tar out of us. That if they got into Magento, it would probably be game over for some of the larger deals that that companies like something digital, have the that we get to go up at bat for. So if you had the Accentures of the world, or Deloitte Digital, or some other large consulting companies that actually decided Magento was worth getting into, a lot of those very large CPG brands like the Nestle's, it doesn't matter who they are. The very, very large opportunities would go to them because they're proven in their delivery model. Whereas in our ecosystem, Cora, Gorilla, Guidance, Born, those are the larger SIs, and they, at best have 200 employees, right? Whereas Accenture has, 200, I don't know.
By the way, do you
know
how many U.S. employees Cora has?
I don't know, hundreds.
No,
7
developers. It's a low number.
Small,
anyway,
right? Yeah. So okay, but they have hundreds worldwide, a couple hundred, right? So, but here's the point. That's small. That's slim pickings. It's small, right? And so Magento just found a whole new audience of SIs that are of a very large caliber who are delivering on Adobe Experience Manager, right? That are delivering the larger big site experiences. And so the fact that Magento is going to step up into that echelon means Magento is much more competitive at that level, which I think, to date, the only way that they would go in, you have a very, very large company. Trying to think of one. Nestle is the only one that comes to mind. But if you have a Nestle who wants to come in and build dozens of sites on Magento, who are they going to trust to give that work to? They have to go to Magento Services. And does Magento want to be a professional services company? So outside of, well, they say they do, right? I think they have to competitively so that they look like they know how to deliver their own product. But Magento doesn't have hundreds and hundreds of people working for Magento Services. They can't deliver that either, right? So what do they do?
Well, it's interesting because Accenture has been dipping into the Magento space in recent years. Actually, already I've seen them doing some hiring. I think they were at Imagine this year.
They're all there. They're at the show, and I think they're dipping their toes, right?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Nestle. I actually had spoken to a merchant that was acquired by Nestle at Imagine. That's on Magento. They probably do tons of acquisitions, but
I know who you're talking to because they're one of our.
I'm not really worried about the big players getting into the space because I don't really get those leads anyway. So it's not really going to affect me. I'm good. I really don't think that the really big agencies, I don't think ThoughtWorks or Deloitte Digital are going to be doing some of the websites I'm bidding for at this point. Although my claim to fame, I actually built a WordPress site for Deloitte Digital once. So I'll take that.
Oh, did you work with Wilson Sheldon on that? Wilson told me to tell you hi, by the way. I saw him last week.
Love Wilson. Wilson, when you're looking for a job, give me a holler. We'll talk.
That boy's never leaving Coca-Cola. I'll tell you that right now.
I know. 44 killing it in Atlanta, by the way.
Yeah, 44.
If you're looking for an agency in Atlanta, give me a call. Don't worry about 44, but they're awesome.
Give me a holler first. By the way, Vinay said he's done some trainings for Deloitte and Accenture. And then question from D. Kenny in the house.
Daniel.
Wonder what's going to happen with Magento BI and other acquisitions now since Adobe has similar offerings. Your thoughts?
This is where I have to say Adobe Business Intelligence, and I have to, Adobe Analytics. I don't know.
Everybody's coming out of the woodwork that's done work for Nestle, by the way.
It's a big company. Also, a lot of people hate Nestle's guts, by the way. That's another interesting. Nestle has a lot of different businesses, by the way. They're not all just the chocolate, right? There's Nestle Life Sciences. There's like a bunch of Nestle companies that do a lot of things. Right.
There's their adult entertainment wing. Little known fact.
That's.
I think he's making, before we get sued.
That's a joke.
He's making that up.
Hey, it's on TJ's channel.
We can say anything.
It's just so you know, it's novelty chocolates, and I'll just stop right there. Like, just let your mind wander.
I mean, I think that BI. I mean, BI is such a huge part of what they're pushing, you know, strategically and in terms of their business value. I can't see that not being a huge part of. I can't see Adobe. I don't know what Adobe's competitive offerings are, but I can't see them not leveraging that pretty heavily.
All I'm saying is the larger players. Okay. And again, TJ, I know that you're like billing yourself as like down, like you're somehow something digital isn't in the same echelon. We are in the same echelon. We're just in different regions, so we don't compete against each other. The fact is that I didn't include something digital in that echelon of the Guidance Core Gorilla Born because they are global partners that are on a different level. We're enterprise, they're global elite. And here's the thing, the global elite partners are really worried right now. I'm telling you, because that's their business. Their model is delivering $1 million builds. And a good portion of their revenue is probably dedicated to doing those sorts of things. Now they have to compete up, right? Think about a couple of years from now. Now they're going to have to compete. That shifts all of our businesses in a fundamental way, because the people that would usually be going to proven success for B2B, and they're looking at the Optaros, Proficient, and those ilk, they're going to be looking at the Accentures of the world. It shifts all of those businesses, right?
It's an interesting chain reaction because the global elite guys, if those leads are not there, now in theory, there are more of those leads and it's better for everybody. But
that's where it is, yeah.
If it's not, if all of those leads are now going to new partners, the really big 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 7,000 person organizations, do those agencies then move a little more down market? Do they open up the type of projects that they're looking at, and then that affects who's below them, which is, you know, in theory, us? And I joke, I mean, that's Southern self-deprecating humor. Don't take it too seriously. We do awesome stuff. But it is curious as to how the chain reaction may fall if this opens Magento up to the bigger agencies.
By the way, interesting point from John Swords, who's kind of like quietly thought leadering in the comments this whole time.
Keep it up, John.
Very smart cat. We're going to have him on a live stream in a couple of weeks, by the way.
Come on to mine first, John.
The acquisition makes Shopify look very overvalued. Shopify market cap is at 200 billies.
So how does that play into it? Like you've got all of these players, Shopify obviously being the bigger one, nipping at Magento's heels. The immediate thought is that if Adobe acquires Magento, which it looks like it's happening, well, that opens Magento up to the upper tier that maybe they were moving into, but it just opens the door. The floodgates are now open. How does that affect the lower tier competition with something like Shopify?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just one thing. I want to correct something. The Shopify's market cap is not 200 billion, it's 15 billion. And Shopify is down 2.19% after close, after the announcement. So I do think that the market is going to react to this. And I do think Shopify is probably overvalued, and they're probably going to run out of the marketing cash that they've been spending on trying to acquire Magento case studies for some time. So
damn it, John, why are you posting fake news into the comments?
I'd like to know where he gets the $200 billion number.
No, that's I think
Shopify,
it's cements.
by the way, is according to Business Insider, is getting into the marijuana business. You know, so that might be a different opportunity for them. Sorry, go back to what you were talking about. TJ.
No. I actually had a chat with Alan McGregor on it. He talked a little bit about how the provinces in Canada work, and they got one of the provinces for cannabis sales, and so they're doing a deal for the government there. But I think it cements the fact that Magento, you know, we've been whining, us community folks have been whining about Magento moving up market for a while now. I think it cements the fact that they're moving mid-market and whatever's above mid-market. And, you know, Shopify is eating up that lower end of the market, probably going to continue to do so. I think they said on the call something about the fact that Magento can be used effectively for mid-market, and it, like when they were asking them about what Adobe's go-to-market footprint is or whatever, they were saying something about being able to unlock kind of opportunities at the higher end of the market. So I think it cements the fact that they're moving way the heck up market, and I think kind of makes clear where the line is between Shopify's and
there's probably a bunch of developer evangelist positions available at Adobe for a bunch of people who want to go get into that business, because there's a company that could employ 50 to 100 developer evangelists, right? This could be an awesome opportunity for some people in our community to level up. And listen, not for nothing. If I had to choose an ideal scenario, okay, it would be that the Magento Association becomes a foundation, which is a full nonprofit that is the gatekeeper of the open source product, that has the long-term support of the open source product that Magento then consumes for the commercial product. Seeing a widening gap between those two entities and their very, they're almost divergent needs in the marketplace. There's the open source ethos, which, I think some people have accused Magento of being abusive on, to capitalize on it. I think that conversation would go away. And I think it would actually put Adobe in a really interesting light. So to see of course, who am I? What do I know? But I think that would be a really interesting maturation of the Magento model and allowing Magento to become more commercial and enterprise, while still fostering the open source community. And WordPress did that well.
That's a super interesting idea. It's hard for me to imagine Adobe, ponying up the Billy for this and then spinning off one of the largest assets of this.
It's already in progress. This is already in progress. It's already happening.
What is?
The Magento Association. The Magento Association is already in progress. I think.
Being spun off as a separate entity?
Magento Association is happening. That's already out there. I'm saying that Magento Association being the owner of the open source product and allowing that to mature as a separate divergent path.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, is for them to basically give away essentially the open source product to charity. It sounds, I mean, that actually would make me super happy. I think it's a super cool idea. But
isn't that what they're already doing? I mean, it's already been released under the open source license. I mean, whatever's out in the world already is given away to charity. Like, it is out there.
The question is, though, Jamie Huskisson mentions that he was in the meetings at Imagine that the Magento Association intended to be nonprofit, separate entity, those key terms. But, the concern is, if that is the steward of the open source product, is the open source product only what the community contributes to it? I mean, is it at that point something that doesn't have a dedicated development team, or is it its own development team under Magento Association to maintain that and move it forward?
Doesn't need a development team because it has a community engineering team, right? Like, isn't that the promise of, I don't know, I don't know. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's an interesting thought process. But community engineering right now is they're still paid by Magento. They're obviously it includes the community contribution, but there are developers to organize and maintain that. Is that kind of how you see as a possibility?
Wouldn't that be the work
of the
of
open source
foundation? I'm guessing that would be the work of the foundation, is that it would subsist of some sort of contribution from Magento and other partners, both financial and sort of work that happens sort of pro bono for the foundation, in much the same way that the WordPress Foundation would work or the Drupal Foundation would work. I think Drupal is actually probably the better model here, and that you have more of a separation between church and state of the commercial product and the actual open source product. But I don't know enough about Drupal to be able to comment whether that's been good or successful for them. But I think that's for all I know, that could be like saying we want the Libya model for North Korea. I mean, that might be a
show title. Well, hey guys, I gotta jump off. This was super exciting. I I hope you guys.
Kaylin, you can't end someone else's live stream for them.
It's okay. We don't have to end the live stream. We're just kicking Kalen off.
Listen.
He just interjects with random stuff in the middle of a sentence anyway.
Listen, I know TJ is going to keep going. I know he wants this to be the most watch time stream ever, and he wouldn't let anything get in front of that goal. But yeah,
It's
I got to
already
go.
there, Kalen. It's already there.
I hate to do that too.
We're going to keep going though, just because. Oh, you got to jump too, Phil?
I got to jump too. I'm sorry, man.
Well, then we're going to call it quits. I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks for jumping on. I'm going to be on Commerce Heroes stream tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about this same topic. I know it's not going to be near as good a quality as what we've put out here. It's going to be just as equally unprepared and just ad hoc. So join us on that. Check it out on Commerce Heroes YouTube channel. Let me find my mouse here, and I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see y'all probably on Friday. I should do a live stream on Friday. Hit that subscribe button, hit thumbs up on the video, and I'll catch y'all later.